Hello friends, this is Mrs. Pickett. I'm back and ready to talk about place value again. Or I can statement, or what you're going to be thinking about again today, is that you can use place value to help understand whole numbers. So last time we talked about place value, we talked about the difference between the place value, where that number sits. Remember, that place value is where the number hangs out, what place in the house it's in. And the difference between value, which is the value is how much it's worth. So today we're going to talk all about numbers and how numbers can be written in different ways. We have standard form, we have written form, and we have expanded form. Now you might hear me call these different forms, standard form, written form, expanded form, as standard notation or written notation. The word notation and the form are exactly the same thing. I like notation better just because I feel like I sound smarter when I say notation. So I may use that one more often. You might also hear expression used, and all of these words mean the same thing. And we know that, any words that mean the same thing are synonyms. So notation, form, or expression, they all mean the same thing. So today I'm going to probably use all three of them interchangeably, just so you know I mean the same thing. So let's jump in and let's talk about standard form first, standard expression, because I think this one's the easiest. Standard expression or notation is just a written number using digits. So we know a digit is any number 1 through 9. So standard expression is when you take those digits and put them together to make a number. So this is standard notation. It's just digits written to make a number. Simple as that. Written expression is another one that I think once you see it, you're going to feel like it's really easy too. Written expression is when I take a number like 291 that is in standard, and I write it in a written expression or with words. So when you think of written, just think of writing it in words. So I'm going to pull my number 291 out, and I'm going to write it in words. 291. So just to give another quick example of written notation, this number in written notation is 3,000. 700. 21. And hopefully you notice in between the 20 and the 1, I put a hyphen in there. Whenever you end a word with TY and you're talking about numbers, you always want to put a hyphen in there. Just like that. Okay, now it's your turn. I want you to look at these two numbers and write them in written form for me. Go ahead and pause the video, write it out, do your best on your spelling. I'm not too worried about that. And then once you're finished, hit the play button and the answers will be there for you. Whew, that took me a long time to write. Hopefully the first one wasn't too tricky for you. I really had to stop and think about that one because I had two places on the left side of the comma. So I really had to think about that, and then I remembered that I still had to use the tens, the 40 as a 10, 42, but I was in my thousands house, so I had to say 42,000. And then after my comma, I could write 174. So hopefully that one wasn't too tricky for you. I was trying to give you guys a little bit of a challenge. And then my second number was 395. Hopefully that one felt a little bit easier for you, and you'll see. Don't forget that you need that hyphen. My hyphen's kind of hiding over here. And I also have a hyphen here and a hyphen here. The final form that we're going to talk about today is expanded form or expanded notation. And this is where you take a number and it's almost like a slinky. You stretch it out to see what the value of the numbers are, excuse me. If you think back to last time, we said the value was how much the number was worth. And so what we're going to do with this 842 is we're going to pull it apart, and I'm going to show you a really fast and easy way to do that. And we're also going to get a little multiplication in there. So we're going to be really smart mathematicians when we do this. So the first step we need to do is we're going to separate our columns out into our hundreds, our tens, and our ones. So remember we said that this place was our ones place. This place was our tens. And this place, our 8, sat in our hundreds place. So when you think about expanded notation, what you're really doing is you're just multiplying the number 2 by its value, 1. So I'm going to say 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Because I have one group of 2, I just have one. Group of 2, it's 2. So now I'm going to do that with my 10 in my tens place. 10, groups of 4, it's the same thing. 4 times 1 is 4. So here we have our 4 and our 1. And then just add that 0. Piece of cake. And then finally, we have our 100 and our 8. Again, we bring down the 8 and add 2 zeros. So when I stretch my number apart to expand it, I'm really saying 800 plus 40 plus 2. Let's do one more just like that. So again, we have 6,271. I'm going to separate that out into my columns. Everybody say it with me. I've got my ones place. Go ahead and say it. Ones. Here we have the tens. Say that with me. Tens. 2. Go ahead and say it's 200, right? So that's our hundreds place. Go ahead and say hundreds with me. Hundreds. And then finally we have which place? Yeah, you're right. Thousands place. So if we think about it like we just did, and we did a little bit of multiplication, we're going to multiply our place value by the number that sits there. And let's see what we get. So over here we have the 7, we have the 1 and the 1. So we just bring the 1 down to get 1. This place, what number do we bring down? The 7 comes down to get 7, but we cannot forget about that 0 up there. So we need the 0 to come down too. So really we have 70 here. The value of the 7 is 70. The 2 becomes 200. And the 6 becomes 6,000. So when you think about the place value, when you think about the expanded form, the way that you stretch it apart, you're pulling the 6,000, the 200, the 70, and the 1 apart to expand that number out. We're going to spend some more time on place value, especially the expanded form in class tomorrow, because I know that that's going to be a little tricky for us, and that's the one I think that we really need to practice on in class tomorrow. So if you're still a little bit confused, don't worry about it. I am going to give you 2 challenges if you want to give them a shot. I want you to try that method we just learned, and I want you to expand these numbers out. And if you can't remember you can rewind and watch that part again. And tomorrow in class, we're going to talk about these 2 numbers. So thanks so much for watching. You guys are fabulous listeners. And your joke for today is, why was Piglet looking in the toilet? See you guys tomorrow. Have a fabulous night. Talk to you later. Bye.